Germany took 5 weeks to conquer Poland, 5 days to conquer the Netherlands, 18 days for Belgium, and 6 weeks for France. Everyone believed that Germany, which had spread its conquest so quickly, would take over all of Europe. However, unexpectedly, the war ended in defeat. Several factors contributed to Germany's defeat. Let's examine in detail what those reasons were. Number 1. Hitler's Operation Barbarossa failed. Hitler's main ambition was to conquer all of Europe and build a self-sufficient state. After taking over countries including France, Hitler's greatest desire was to conquer Russia. Russia was crucial for him to build his empire. He had imagined that 6 weeks would be enough time for this. Accordingly, in 1941, Operation Barbarossa was launched, deploying 3 million German soldiers to Russia. The war began, and the German army advanced faster than expected. Thousands of Russian soldiers were killed, and another vast number were captured by the Germans. This attack devastated the Russian soldiers. According to the sources, initially, although the Germans were highly successful, they made a huge mistake. They thought that as they advanced, Russian firepower would decrease and they could march in an orderly manner to capture Moscow. However, Russia did not easily accept defeat. A large number of Russian troops surrounded the German forces and launched an attack. In this attack, Hitler had instructed them to bypass the Russians and head directly to Moscow. However, the commanders of the operation had ordered that this attack be maintained and that Moscow be reached. During the period in which the Germans maintained this attack, several favorable events occurred for the Russians. One was that Russia received assistance from Britain. Moreover, prior to this, the newly deployed Russian soldiers did not have enough rifles. During this period, these soldiers were supplied with rifles. With the arrival of October, a severe cold struck Moscow. As for how much this affected the Germans, more Germans suffered from sickness due to this cold than were wounded by Russian attacks. Russian soldiers were well trained for combat in these cold conditions. German commanding officers informed their superiors that it was impossible to advance further. Hitler, however, ignored these warnings and insisted on continuing the advance. The Germans had only about 20 more kilometers to reach Moscow. But by this time, German troops were exhausted due to Russian attacks and harsh weather. In such circumstances, thousands of Russian soldiers gathered and launched a fierce attack on the Germans. The attack was so fierce that thousands of German soldiers were killed and a large number of others fell into the hands of the Russians. The few remaining soldiers had to abandon advancing and save their lives. The defeat of Germany began with this war. Hitler was defeated for the first time in a war on land. Since he could not capture Russia, it was a great threat to build his dream state. Number 2. America entered the war. The United States did not respond to this war in the early stages of the World War. The United States thought that Japan would threaten it at any moment. The United States stopped sending crude oil to Japan. Japan was hit hard by this. Japan's crude oil supply was cut short by 94%. Japan was very angry about this and was ready to attack America at any moment. The day that marked the biggest milestone of the World War came on December 7, 1941. The Japanese attack swiftly struck numerous targets, specifically the American base at Pearl Harbor. This attack caused the United States great shock and intense anger. 3 ships at Pearl Harbor were completely destroyed, resulting in the deaths of around 1,400 people, and the port was temporarily incapacitated. This made America extremely furious at Japan. Following this incident, the United States declared war against Japan. Subsequently, on December 9, the United States declared war on Germany and Italy, entering World War II. This intensified the war further and provided the Allied forces with significant support. America was fully equipped with modern military power, including war tanks. America participated in massive operations of World War II, undertaking immense responsibilities. Japan's attack on America was like waking a sleeping lion. The support the United States provided contributed greatly to the defeat of Germany. Number 3. Resistance and security decreased. Thousands of Jews were inhumanely killed in Hitler's concentration camps. Hitler's actions were opposed by many people in Germany as well as in the international community. They hated Hitler's party. But they did not show their opposition because they were afraid of Hitler. At the beginning of the World War, Hitler occupied several countries, including France. The people of those countries also strongly opposed Germany. They killed German officers as well as railway stations. German soldiers were threatened with their lives due to these activities. The people who did not stop supported the Allied spies. Number 4. Weak decisions of the chiefs. You know that in this Second World War, Germany was the most troubled for the Allied forces. However, the decisions taken by the chiefs were also very important to Germany's defeat. We all know that Hitler was a bloodthirsty man who was corrupted by humanity. However, every scholar agrees that Hitler was a good ruler. But Hitler sometimes made very poor decisions. Got it? Do you remember how German soldiers suffered due to the cold weather during Hitler's Operation Barbarossa? But at that time, Hitler said to keep advancing. Because of this decision, thousands of German soldiers perished. Hitler was always obsessed with Russia. He believed that if he could destroy Moscow, the rest of Russia would collapse easily. Even though there were signs that D-Day operations were coming, Hitler did not give it much importance. Among some of Hitler's military leaders, there was also not much sense. They always marked everything as, "I did it, I did it." Number 5 is the D-Day operation. The near defeat of Germany is mainly due to this D-Day operation. This operation was carried out for about 1.5 months. Around 150,000 soldiers of the Allied forces landed on the French coast with over 3,000 tanks. While landing on the coast, thousands of Allied soldiers lost their lives due to German cannons and machine guns. However, the operation continued and gradually created favorable conditions for the Allied army in the war. After 1.5 months of fierce fire, the Allies were able to destroy thousands of German soldiers. This operation enabled the Allies to liberate a large area including France from the Nazis. According to sources, this attack broke the morale of the Germans. This operation was the nearest and the main reason for the defeat of the Germans. I hope to make a separate video about Operation D-Day in the future. Goodbye to today. Have a good day.